Just so honored to be here and also to be part of the category named after Joe Bruno. I won't make it a Building Hope commercial, but what all our accomplishments and success would never be possible without the partnership with Building Hope. So I thought I'd share you a bit of our origin story, because where we started with was 179 students 8 years ago. We're currently at 1,700 students, moving on to 2,000 next year. And I could talk about our origin story in terms of that first year where we got 179 students that had never seen the school because the classrooms weren't ready until a week before school, about having 6 weeks to open the school, hire teachers, get curriculum. Building Hope was embedded when we did that. But that's not our origin story, because True North is a different model. We're in the model charter award category. And our model is very different. Our model, we're a classical liberal arts form of education. And the origin really goes back to my dad and what he thought and what he believed and his vision of what education ought to be. To quote my dad, who had written his memoirs and gifted that to our family, "Character is the only important thing we own, and it's our responsibility to develop it." In classical thought, the whole point of education is to grow in character and ultimately achieve wisdom. From those words and those thoughts, this idea that the only thing we really own in life is character, and that education used to mean a very different word. It was the completeness of a human being, the completeness of intellectual development and character development. And that went back to the Greeks and this concept of paideia. This idea that we can create a school that drew on those sources and drew on those roots, where character is first and foremost of what education is about. That became the origin story of True North. And there's three things that came together that makes our model what it is. First and foremost, this focus on character. Second is a very different curriculum that goes deep, deep into the liberal arts and the trivium and the quadrivium. And third is our focus on deep coaching and how we develop and train and value our faculty and our teachers. So to start with character as the central focus of what we do, it goes back to the Greeks, it goes back to Plato saying purpose of education is to create a wholly good human being. We tell our parents, both in orientation and throughout our time together, that we could create the most intellectually, academically brilliant student that goes on to Ivy Leagues and these highly selective colleges. But if through our influences, we've shaped a heart or a soul that is corrupt or is flawed, then we have failed. A human being is not just the intellect. Most importantly, a human being is a soul and in the form of character. And so much of what we do is around shaping character. We do have a core virtues program, but that's not something we do once a week or 15 minutes a day. We start our morning assembly, every grade, all the way through high school, talking about a core virtue. In the younger grades, we read short stories and myths and parables. In the older grades, we tell stories or share episodes. It culminates in the high school, and we just had it last week in what we call as the symposium, where we shut down the high school for a day, and we center that day on a great virtue. Our first year we did it was courage. This year we did self-discipline. And the day is spent reflecting on what does it mean, and that's reading text studies and guest speakers and panel discussions. The second part of what makes a True North education True North is our curriculum, deeply influenced in the younger grades by E.D. Hirsch and the work of the Core Knowledge Foundation, and the idea that reading is really a knowledge test, and that if we're going to close the achievement gap, it really is an achievement in background knowledge, deep domain knowledge across a breadth and depth of subjects. It's connecting curriculum horizontally, subject to subject, and math to science connects to literature, to philosophy, to history, and vertically, grade level to grade level to grade level. In the grammar school, the elementary school, it is immersion in deep knowledge and building background knowledge to create Velcro, or these hooks that, as the students get older, knowledge sticks onto knowledge. So what does that look like practically with our curriculum? We center a chronological timeline around history. Our kindergartners through second grade learn ancient history, and they're learning Greek myths and Roman myths and world myths throughout kindergarten and in second grade. And then it goes to medieval history, to modern history in fifth grade. And that history cycle repeats itself through middle and through high school. So that as they're reading, for example, in fourth grade, and they're in history and doing medieval history, they're reading Robin Hood and King Arthur. And history is paired in literature in that way. It creates this deep connection, these deep bonds, and this deep domain in background knowledge. The last piece for us, what makes a True North education True North, is our focus, intentionality, and our coaching and our professional development. We develop and support our teachers and coach our teachers. It's more like sports. We have a highly trained and developed instructional coach that works with our teachers, and they each have a cohort of 4 to 8 teachers, and they work with them each week. They'll game film the teachers. The teachers, together with their coach, will look at the game film through a lens of best practices and how can they elevate their teaching in the following week. And we pick one item. The coaches will pick one thing for the coaches to work on with their mentee that's going to make the biggest impact. So it's this culture of transparency, this culture of feedback, this culture of continuous improvement that allows this coaching model and the coaches to dramatically increase the efficacy of the teaching in the classroom. Because at the end of the day, what we realized is we could have the most purpose of education and shaping character. We could have this knowledge-rich, deep, complex curriculum, but all of that rings hollow if it's not in the hands of a great teacher. And we would prefer, and we do hire in this way, a teacher that has a love for kids, that has subject matter expertise, and is open to feedback over any teacher that comes through a teacher certification program. What we find and what we interview for is openness to feedback. So during our interview day, they're actually teaching, our candidates are reteaching, and the main thing we're looking for is not the quality of the lesson, but we're looking for, are they open to feedback? Because we know with our coaching model we can develop excellent teachers if they're open. So when you put this together, this purpose of education about creating a great soul, a curriculum that is deep and ennobling, and in the hands of faculty that are master teachers, we've been able to get just exceptional results. And results that year after year get better and better. And we actually don't know how we do it each year. I'm looking at Ms. Finley, our head of schools, that every year, we can't top that from last year. But what we're able to do with this model is get incrementally better each year. And we started off in a crazy place. Because in our first year with 189 students, with this different curriculum, with parents having high expectations of what this could be, we emerged as one of the top schools in the state of Florida. We're a top 20 in the state of Florida. We're number 3 in Miami. And we've only gotten better as we've grown. So last year, out of our 4 charter schools, all 4 were in the top 10 in the state of Florida. 3 of them were the top in Miami. I don't know where we go this year, Ms. Finley, because we're sitting with those kind of results. And beneath those high-level results is also some really interesting and so meaningful measurements. And is we are an 80% Hispanic school. We're in Miami. We have closed the achievement gap. There is no differentiation in our student performance between minority students, between economically disadvantaged students. It is completely closed. We have been able to show as well that we move our students quickly. The average economically disadvantaged students comes a year behind grade level when they enter True North. In 1 year, they're at grade level, and 2/3 of them are above grade level by the end of their time with us. I conclude with this idea that we get these exceptional results not because we focus on teaching to the test, not because we do crazy boot camps or pep rallies around test day. We do it because at the end of the day, the primary and first and foremost thing about what we do at True North is focus on character, purpose, and meaning. Thank you so much.